Hi, and welcome to the Create Your Own PR and Marketing Campaign to Increase Your Profile and Profits. This is a workshop, so my goal for you is to have your publicity campaign done by the time we finish this training. This isn't a webinar where you sit and listen. It's a workshop where you get to create as we go. Now, I'm just going to make sure everything from a tech perspective is working. I hope that it is. I've just had to download something in the process of doing all this, so I'm just hoping that it's all working. It looks like we're all good, so let's get going. Everyone's on the call. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. So let's dive straight in. So first of all, what we are going to learn today and what you're going to take away is how to create a campaign to build your profile and profits for your next event, book release, product launch, cause, or story. We're going to also look at discovering tips on finding your key messages, along with things like your strengths, your weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to increase your chances of gaining that visibility through your PR and also through marketing. You don't need to be a big business to gain media or to find marketing success. And then the last one is how to walk away with a 3-month calendar to take away the overwhelm and get you excited about taking action. So what I want you to do, first of all, you can either use your calendar or I have another resource for you. I have a link as well, which is bit.ly/comms plan, and that's a capital C and a capital P. But this is the communications plan that I use with high-end clients. So you can actually go to this URL, download it. It's a Word document, so there's no need to print it out. You can actually use the document on your computer screen, although if you like printing things out, that's perfectly okay too. It will work that way as well. So here we go. Lovely. Hopefully you've had time to write that down. bit.ly/comms plan, capital C, capital P. I should probably even put that into our chat box. Let's see if I can do that. So bit.ly/comms plan. Hopefully that works for you. You may need to put a HTTP in front of it. All good. So why public relations? We've already said all that. Why public relations and how does it work? So the first part, we're going to actually predominantly focus on PR and the PR pathway. The marketing one is a little bit different, but I think the PR one is one that needs to be explained just a little bit more. So first of all, why public relations? Well, it's instant expert status. It's free, so it's not like having to pay for ads. You actually get free attention from other sources. It's a third-party endorsement, and that recommendation is really powerful at getting people to want to, I guess that third-party endorsement really gives you trust. You're borrowing somebody else's trust. You're borrowing the media's trust. So it's very, very powerful. Increased visibility. Higher perceived value, which of course means higher fees that you can be charging as well. More people calling you, wanting to do business with you as opposed to your competitors. More paid speaking engagements, and this actually goes hand in hand. So when I look at the PR opportunities that I've had that have led to speaking opportunities or speaking engagements, those speaking engagements in turn also turn into media exposure as well. So those two work really nicely together. More word of mouth and referrals, which is, as we know, hugely powerful in our business, and more freedom. You'll spend less time cold calling, which is a huge big tick in my book because I'm not a big fan of cold calling. So there's just a few things on why public relations is so important. And some of those, of course, will also apply to marketing as well. So how does PR work? This is a bit of a guide of how PR works. And I just want to step you through it quite quickly. We won't be working on the entire thing today, but just to give you a bit of an idea, the first piece there is matching your media list to your content calendar to build a strong foundation for publicity. So this is important because you need to be pitching relevant content to the right sources. And of course, those sources need to be where your target market is hanging out. So the result then is publicity and profits for your business. The second piece is writing a killer press release that the media can't ignore. Now, a great press release will really help sell your story to win over journalists, and in some cases, you won't need that press release. And I'll teach you more about that and why to drop the press release for those of you who might want to join my Publicity Alchemy program. If you want to learn about that, I talk about it in there. The third piece is how we get your press release past the newsroom door. Now, this is the area most people really, really struggle with, but it's the most important to get journalists chasing you down for interviews. And it's really not hard, and you don't need existing relationships with journalists either. Now, fourth is how to survive a media interview. So the right preparation is really key here. So you appear professional, you ease those nerves, which is especially good if you're an introvert like me, and also to enable you to get the correct message across. So a good delivery of your story and message will also get the attention of other media, which can lead to even more exposure for your business. And if you've been following me for a while, you'll know some of those stories of the clients that I've had that have had that sort of snowball effect where they've got one media opportunity and that's just snowballed into a series of media opportunities. Now, the fifth piece, of course, if your pitch doesn't get picked up, then you actually need to know how to follow up without annoying the journalist. And I always cringed when people rang to say, did you get my press release when I was a journalist? So there is a right way and there is a wrong way as well of doing that. And lastly, the sixth piece is leveraging your media exposure. So once you get media, that's not where it ends. You need to leverage that to catapult your business to whatever level you want it to reach. And that's really where, for any of you that have heard me talking about client pathways or soulful sales funnels, that's really the other part of my business, and what I love to focus on is being able to then nurture people once you've captured their contact details and move them from discovering who you are through PR to then wanting to invest in you. So I'm going to deliver today. What we're going to do is really focus more on the story part, which is the creating that calendar and really focusing on that. So we can, of course, combine our PR efforts with our marketing efforts, focusing on the story we can share. So how do you create a PR and marketing campaign? And you know, why create it? Well, I guess if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. We all know that quote by now. It's also about making the most of the opportunities you have available to you. Now, when you hone in on what it is you're doing and why you're doing it, you start identifying some really great opportunities for yourself. So recently, when I was working through the plan for a nonprofit organization, which was holding an event, we identified some really strong publicity opportunities simply by working through this plan. So my question is, do you have a plan? If not, that's what you're here to achieve today. So what I want you to do now is either take out that communications plan I gave you before, and there is a link in the chat for those of you who are here listening to it live. You have that opportunity there, or you can either use your calendar, which is fillable and has some of these pages for the communications plan in it. Some of them aren't, so there's a few extra bits in this communication plan that you're getting as a special bonus for getting the calendar. Now, I've tried to come up with a scenario that we can use that people will relate to, or that you will relate to, and I thought I'd do an event because I've been working with a client on an event. This won't be their campaign, but I thought I'd base it loosely on what they're doing. But just know that you can adapt this to anything, a book, an event, product launch, cause, story, whatever it happens to be. So let's dive into the document and start crafting this communications plan. Now, the first thing we need to look at, as you can see there on the screen, is your purpose. Now, what is the purpose of you doing this communications plan? What do you want to achieve with it? Now, in this instance, it's to keep bloggers informed about progress with our event, attract attendance or attendees, and to secure sponsors. So they're the three things we're looking to do with this particular event. So I would ask you, what is your purpose for the campaign that you're putting together? What are you focusing on? What do you want to achieve out of it? What is the end result? And if you're watching the recording of this, of course, you get the opportunity to stop and pause and fill this in as we go. Now, situation analysis. We're going to go through 4 different areas of situation analysis, and what this does is really prepares you for anything that might be thrown your way, and also shows you some of the opportunities that you have available to you. Now, the first one, as you can see there on the screen, is strengths. This is information that will make communications easier for you. So we can look at things like our existing web page on an already high traffic website. If we've got that, that's a fantastic strength. The implications of which is that you're saving yourself time and money by reusing an existing communications asset there. Another one is engaged audience on social media. So, of course, the implications there are it allows for instant feedback and spreading of the message much easier than trying to start something from scratch. Now, another strength for this event might be there's a lot of messages from entrepreneurs eager for something like this event. And, of course, the implications for that is that the community is open to making part and actively seeking the community is open to taking part and actively seeking more information. I'm getting very tongue-tied. But that's really looking at some of the strengths. So what are the strengths for your campaign? What are the things that you already have, the existing parts or the need that people have for this particular thing that you're offering? What are those strengths that you're going to be able to play on? Weaknesses is the next one. Now, the community often feeling there isn't enough information or not being fully informed can be a really big weakness here. So for you, the implication is that you need to reinforce the messages on varying platforms, on social media and blogs and media, traditional media, on a consistent basis, particularly in the lead up to this event. So that's one of the weaknesses, one of the things that will make communications harder that you need to be aware of before you go into this particular event. Another one for this event might be negative media attention surrounding blogging being dead if we're doing a blogging event. Of course, for us, we then need to be able to counteract that, is to reinforce the benefits of blogging for entrepreneurs. So there's just a few things looking at the weaknesses again. What are the weaknesses for your campaign that you need to be able to address early on to avoid any challenges that come up along the way? Opportunities. This is always a great one, and there's usually lots of opportunities that you have that sometimes you don't realize until you start sitting down and writing what they are. But just a few examples. Again, these are things we can leverage through our communication. So the opportunities for this particular event are video, graphics, and images. So it's ideal to be used and leveraged through news media outlets, including traditional media with an online presence. Of course, that's something we need to be more aware of now when we're doing our PR. Our website, YouTube, Facebook, and links in our newsletter as well. So video, graphics, and images, the ability to be able to create those is a great opportunity that we can use for this particular event. Another opportunity is bloggers talking about the event on their blogs. So getting bloggers on board as speakers and to attend the event as well, which helps spread the message organically without that need to actually invest any money in advertising. So that would be a great opportunity to be looking for. Now we go on to the last one. Again, writing down your own opportunities there. But the next one is threats. Doesn't sound good, but these are the things that may be mitigated through communications. So one of them, the one that you can see there on the screen, is misinformed negative comment about the pricing gaining momentum. This might be one of the things that you're conscious might be coming up for this particular event. So how do we overcome that? Well, we allay fears around investing in the event by showing the benefits and the cost of not investing. That would be a great way to get on the front foot of this particular threat and deal with it before it becomes an issue. So again, what are the threats for your particular campaign? Going through each of those, got to remember what they all are now, the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. Really important to look at each of those. Now, I've actually just done a crisis plan for an organisation who ended up 2 weeks later in a crisis situation. Talk about timing. I got an email at the end of the week saying, paradoxically, it was the best week they've ever had in their business because of the feedback from their customers who loved how they were kept informed. They felt like they were part of the process they were going through, and they sensed this team spirit. So while this isn't a crisis plan, it does help you be prepared so that if a crisis or a threat happens, it can work in your favor and can actually turn into a really great positive for your business. So I really encourage you to determine what those things are and put some effort into finding what those 4 situation analysis areas are for your campaign. Next, we go on to target audience and information needs analysis. Again, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I do a lot of work on ideal client or aligned clients. This isn't really aligned client work, and if you want to go deeper into who your most aligned client is, please get in contact. But this is really looking at more broadly at the target audience, and this comes down to who your ideal client is, which, as I said, we're not going to go through that today. But if you've already done some work around this, it will really help you put yourself in their shoes and see what exactly do they need to know. Now, this gets you out of the mindset of what can I get out of PR and into how can this story help other people, and same with your marketing. What message, what can people get out of this message that I'm sharing with them? Now, when you pitch a journalist, it's got to be a win for the journalist, as in a great story for them to write about, a win for the reader, the listener, or the viewer, depending on which type of media, but which, of course, for them becomes a double win for the journalist, because it's a win for them and a win for the reader. And, of course, you've got to get something out of it yourself. You need to have a purpose. As we identified at the beginning of this communications plan, you've got to have a purpose for actually doing this in the first place. Otherwise, it's a lot of noise. So as you can see here, we've got entrepreneurs who are going to attend the event. What do they want, or what do they need to know? They're going to want to know about the cost. They're going to want to know about when and where it's going to be held and what will they get out of the event. Now, the other audience we need to be conscious of course, is our stall holders and our sponsors who are going to be at the event. Those who are likely to sponsor the event or want to have a stall at the event to showcase their product to bloggers and to entrepreneurs. Again, what do they want to know? They want to know how much is it going to cost to be a stall holder, or how much is it going to cost to be a sponsor. How many entrepreneurs are likely to attend this event? They want to be able to weigh up the value of what they're paying versus how many people they're going to be able to get in front of. And how long will they get to showcase their products for? Is this a 1-day event, a 2-day event? Are there other opportunities outside of that as well? So really look at your target audience. And again, if you don't already know your ideal client, really go back and do some of that work, or find someone who can help you really identify who your ideal client is. Next is communication objectives. Now, the communication efforts will take in digital and traditional media. Now, the objective of this particular plan that we're looking at, we've broken it down into 3 objectives. The first one is launch the Build a Blog That Matters event, that's what we're calling it, and get ticket sales. That's our very first objective. Number 2 is keeping the entrepreneurs and sponsors informed about any developments with the event through consistent content. And then the third one is building community and ownership in the event, encouraging participants to want to share it organically. So there's just 3 objectives for yourself. What are the 3 objectives that you have? It doesn't have to be 3. I always think 3 works nicely. If you can break things down into 3, and you'll see pretty much all the way through this, everything is in 3s, but it does get you thinking as well. What core things do you need to get across? Now we go on to messaging. So the following key messages and themes should be incorporated into all of your communications activities wherever practical. This can be things like a press release, a blog post, a social media status, anything that you have that you're doing as part of your PR and your marketing. This is where this messaging comes to the fore. Now, as you can see on the screen at the moment, there's a campaign tagline there. Not everyone has campaign taglines. It's going to depend on what your campaign is for. Of course, this one's an event. So building brands one blog post at a time is part of the tagline for this particular event. You may also have a campaign key message and overarching message that you have as well. So these things are a little bit more optional, and again, depending on what sort of campaign that you're doing. But when we dive deep into our key messages and really flesh this area out, it becomes critical when you're, as I said, writing those press releases, but also when you're doing interviews, you know what to say, you know what to share on social media, you know what to write in newsletters, in blog posts, and also what to create for your sales pages as well. So if there's more than one of you doing interviews, then it helps you to stay on track to know what your message is. And what I like to do, as much as what's on the screen at the moment can be helpful, the really critical part of messaging actually comes when you break it down into 3 key messages you want to get across. And as I said, when you're doing an interview, you know you've got 3 things that you need to talk about. When you're writing a blog post, you know you've got 3 things that you need to address in that blog post. You may just take one of your messages and put that on social media, and then a week later put the second message on social media. So it's a really good thing to be able to have these and have clarity. And as I said, if there's 3 of you all doing media, then at least you're all consistent with your messaging. So the first one for this particular event, we're using technology as one of our key messages. This is a big deal for this event, apparently. But due to capacity for the event being capped at 200 people, entrepreneurs from around the world can tune in via a new live streaming system where they can be projected onto a screen at the event to ask their questions direct to Richard Branson, who of course is going to be at this event, right? There'll be a Twitter handle for those at the event and at home so that they can feel part of the event as well. So that might be our technology message. Now, another message for this event might be more around strategies, what they're actually going to be learning and the strategies that they're going to learn during this particular event. So again, breaking that down into a few dot points that we might be able to share or stories that we can share. Richard Branson will reveal a secret about how he's been able to grow his business through storytelling. Another one, share 3 things businesses can do to attract their ideal client to their blog, possibly a tip sheet even. This would be fantastic for the media with a tip sheet. Or a dot point style list blog post. And then my story, so you as the owner, my story about overcoming fears with blogging despite my background as a journalist. This is just as I said, a made up example, but that might be one of the things, messages underneath that strategies message. And then the final umbrella message is guest speakers. So of course, we've also already mentioned Virgin boss Richard Branson revealing business secrets and the power of storytelling. We might also, because these are bloggers, have an Australian journalist, we're just calling her Jo Flo, provide the do's and don'ts on being a great writer. These people are writers as bloggers, so that could be a really powerful way to get them in. And the other one is copywriter and blogger John Black, talks about how he's turned over a $1 million business all through blogging. So these are the key messages. What are your 3 key messages that will keep you consistent with your messaging across your business or across this particular campaign? Another one, so I just want to give you another example. I don't have a screenshot for this particular one, but just thinking about another event that I've done recently with a client, which was again for an outdoor event, which was motor cars. And the 3 different messages they had was, number 1 was family. So they were one of the state's major XYZ shows, bringing together some of the finest vehicles in attractive, memorable and safe settings to become a hub for families, car enthusiasts and tourists. And also the fact under this family umbrella message that it was ideal for families with food stalls and children's entertainment. Now, the second umbrella message for them was unique exhibitors and venue. So this XYZ organisation is looking to attract 600 vehicles in March from throughout the country to be judged by a team of judges. Another one under this particular umbrella is the feature vehicle for this year is the ABC vehicle, and we're bringing the everyday car fanatic's dream of getting up close to an elite British sports car into reality. And that's a great tagline or a great sound bite that could be shared then through all of the messaging. So we are bringing the everyday car fanatic's dream of getting up close to an elite British sports car into reality. And then the last umbrella message was cause. So we've had family, we've had unique exhibitors and venue, and then this last one is cause. And underneath that is money raised from the event is used for a charity organisation's projects, which include polio and a health one and a mental health one. So I won't go into all the details there. I'm giving too much away, but that just gives you an idea again of a different type of event that's a little bit more traditional. So hopefully that's got you thinking. But if you've got a book or a product that you're launching, what are the 3 key messages you need to get across about that? Then break it into a few key things you can say. In the course, in the Publicity Alchemy course that I mentioned earlier, we actually go even deeper into the sound bites or those golden quotes that you can use in interviews that journalists just love. And they're also great for tweetable content in your blog posts as well. But for now, just concentrate on the messages that you need to get across. Now, the next part, which will be very familiar to you from the actual calendar, is our communication strategies, activities, and budget. Now, this is the big part. This takes all of the high-level stuff we've been looking at and breaks it down into the activities you need to do to make this actually happen. And I believe I have some, apparently, I've learned in the last couple of years that I have that ability to be able to look at the big picture and then zoom into what are the actual steps that need to happen, need to be done to make this big vision come into reality. So I would really encourage you to work in that way if you can. Not everyone is like that, which I've learned is I've always thought everyone was the same, but apparently some people are only big picture people and some people are only detail orientated people. So if you can either combine with someone or have a coach who has a strength in the area that you don't, that can help you, it can be really beneficial to be able to know what your big picture vision is and then know what those tactics and steps are that you need to follow to actually make this a possibility. So this could get rather extensive if you're doing a 6-month campaign, and I've talked about this one being a 3-month campaign or 90 days. I tend to work on 3-month campaigns so I can reevaluate at the end of each quarter. And I would go even deeper than what's on the screen here. I'm just a bit limited, as you can tell there, with space on the screen. So when are you going to pitch something and to whom? When are you going to write a blog post? And where is that going to be shared to? Which social media platforms are you going to be active on? What other activities can you include that make up your PR and marketing wheels? Now, here's an example of doing it for, what's this one? This one is for an event as well. So as you can see, there's a pre-launch section to this event. Then there's the event itself. And then there's the post-launch. So there's things to do once the event is over. And as you can see, some of the, in the pre-launch section, broadening the scope of information available online, event promo video to be created, announcement of the event and date and tickets on sale for the media, for blogs and for a newsletter. And as you can see there in the fourth column, there's a vehicle. So what are the places that this is going to be shared? Radio advertising there, of course, if we've got need to have a budget, then you've got the budget column there as well to fill out. Then during the actual event itself, we hold the event. What are the things we need for that event? We need a media kit, media release, links to access images and graphics, and frequently asked questions and fact sheets as well. And then post-launch, once it's actually all done, then the website with content people can buy to access a library of the talks. If you've done if we were looking at the blogging event, we might be able to take all of the interviews and all of the keynote speeches and actually then put those into an online library where people can buy to access those if they weren't at the event. Facebook event for feedback on the event, and email and blog thanking participants for coming. So that's for a particular event. And different activities looking at it in that way. There is another way to look at it as well. So this is slightly different, and you structure it the way that makes the most sense to you. But this one is for a book. So this is a book launch that we have. And as you can see there, we've looked at things like Facebook post, press release, an excerpt that's going to be shared to a particular media. You might guest post somewhere as well. Lots of different things, but as this with this book, it's only a month, but you can easily string this out to 6 months of content to use on your blog, your Facebook, Twitter, guest posting, online media, traditional media, online and traditional advertising, direct mail, whatever you believe is going to be the best way to connect with your ideal client. Now, we haven't gone into this in this training, but in Publicity Alchemy, we actually get through exactly what media you need to be tapping into. But basically, there's no point trying to pitch the Australian newspaper if they're more into reading blogs. Go where your ideal client is at. And as I said, I do talk about the ideal client part quite a lot, but it's super important and will make the rest of what you do so much easier. So start brainstorming. What are some of the types of content you could be putting out there? With a book, you can have an excerpt, you can be interviewed. You might give one media outlet an exclusive. This is what I did with an event I mentioned earlier. So each media outlet got an exclusive interview with an exhibitor that was relevant to their area. That meant I was getting media attention from local media, but also media in outlying areas because those exhibitors weren't from the local area. So it gives them a great local angle. Now, I want to note here that you're all going to be pitching different levels of media, and some of you will look at a plan for national media and say that I can't do that. That's okay. Start where you are. Local media is a great way to get your confidence up with dealing with journalists. Some of you may look at local media and say, well, I want more than just local, and that's perfectly fine too. Or your ideal client might not be a local client. So make your plan and go for that big media if that happens to be the case. Same with Facebook, Twitter, blogging, YouTube. Where is your ideal client hanging out, and what makes sense to where you should be promoting? Now, if you've got multiple pitches over a period of time, you can actually start building really good relationships with journalists. And what happens then is they start chasing you because you're constantly giving them great stories. You become the go-to person. And that's why having a plan is so important. You need to be coming up in their view on a regular basis and, of course, being helpful. Now, if you wanted that communications plan, I'm just going to share it again in case you missed it before. Put it all there. As you can see, capital C, capital P, to be able to download that. But that's a really useful resource. And as I said, in your calendar, you actually have the activities sheet already in there. You don't have the messaging ones, but that part of the communications plan is really helpful. So I just want to recap what we've been through today. Your purpose for your communications plan. Get really clear on what that is so that you know why you're doing what you're doing, and it gives you far more clarity. Situation analysis. What are the threats? What are the opportunities? You need to look at both sides. Sometimes we bury our head in the sand, not wanting to know the bad things that might happen. But if you actually prepare for them earlier, then it makes things so much easier for you. Target audience and information needs analysis. Again, we've only looked at it at a high-level view today, but I would highly encourage you to look at, to go a bit deeper into that ideal client. Communications objectives. What is the goal that you want? What are the objectives for this particular campaign? Crafting your key messages that you can use across the board so you've got that consistency and so people clearly know what it is that you're offering. And then the last part is communication strategies, activities, and budget. So that's that nitty-gritty. What are the tasks that you need to do? And if you're not a detail-orientated person, hopefully you have someone on your team who can help you get that stuff done. So once you've got this plan in place, it really does free you up to come up with the right hooks. It allows you to pitch strategically and schedule content out. You have a clearer focus and better results after you deliver your interview or write that blog post, and you know what you need to do with the follow-up with media. But that's pretty much it. That's what we have for you today. I hope that you've been able to gain plenty out of today's workshop. Once you've got this plan, you know, it just helps so much. And as you can see, you can then go back, and if you've got another campaign that you're doing or another project that you're working on, you can keep reusing this one communications plan. Now, if you've got questions, you are more than welcome to email me, which is kelly@kellyobrien.com.au. And of course, you're getting my emails, so you can just reply to any of my emails with any questions that you might have. But thank you so much for staying on the call. It's lovely to see so many of you here today. I really appreciate it. I know how busy you all are, particularly at this time of year. But keep working on that plan. It will evolve, and good luck with it, and also with your calendar as well. Thank you so much again, and we will talk again soon, I'm sure.